Welcome into Sport and Order, the internet's #1 sports debate show. And don't fact check me on that. It's better that you don't. Today we have two Sport and Order veterans on today, and Ryan Phillips and Patrick Schmidt. Ryan is a senior writer at The Big Lead, a co-host of the Assembly Call, and hails from my second favorite city in America. So how is the weather in San Diego right now, Ryan?
It's nice. It's nice. Which, I mean, I didn't need to look outside for that. We know that every day. You've lived here, Sean. It's pretty much perfect all the time.
70 and cloudless. It's fantastic.
Upper 70s. Yeah, perfect.
We also have Patrick Schmidt, who's a senior editor at FanSided and is responsible for the college football season preview that just dropped today. Patrick, do you have a dark horse playoff contender for me?
I don't know about dark horse because it's usually the same usual suspects year in and year out. But if you're looking for an outsider that could potentially crash that party, I think Iowa State, returning about 20 starters from last year's team, best team in program history, they might have a chance to get into that Final Four.
Awesome. Thank you. Well, today we'll be discussing a wide variety of topics, but we start in Las Vegas. The NBA Summer League is nearly finished. We've seen a couple standouts. August performances don't always mean greatness. Just ask Josh Selby or Jared Bayless, former MVPs. But it is encouraging to see young players dominate at this level. Which player in your guys' minds gave you the most hope for future stardom during this year's Summer League? We'll start with you, Patrick.
Yeah, well, I thought, this year's draft class has a chance to be really, really special. Cade Cunningham at the top, shot really well from downtown. I had 7 3-pointers in one of his Summer League games. He's legit. He's the real deal. Jalen Green, Jalen Suggs, both these guys are going to be studs, probably already the best players on each of their teams. Evan Mobley didn't play outstanding, but I think he's going to be really great for the Cavs. But some sophomore standouts that look really well, Tyrese Maxey and Patrick Williams of the Bulls in particular. Patrick Williams, he might have a chance to be really, really special, kind of be that glue guy for the Bulls here who've had a big offseason with some big acquisitions. He might be that X factor, so to speak, for this team to go from outside the playoffs to potentially a 4 or 5 seed in the East.
Ryan, what are your thoughts on it?
Well, he gave you several answers. I'm going to give you one. It's Jalen Green. The 19-year-old averaged 20.3 points per game, showed out in high-profile matchups with the Cavs and Pistons against the other two top 3 picks. His game is so mature for his age, and you can credit a year in the G League for that. And I think the most impactful thing about him is I think he's creating that path to show, hey, you go to the G League instead of college, this is what happens. You play in a professional offense. You learn how to play in a professional defense. You're playing more than 40 games a year. He hit 51.4% from the field, 52% from 3, and a little hamstring injury took him out. But other than that, he looks like he's going to be the lead scorer in Houston immediately. I loved what I saw from Jalen Green.
I think Patrick's initial point on Cade Cunningham shooting, I think the one thing that it definitely does is raise his floor a lot. If he can't get to the bucket, at least he's a good outside shooter. But I do think I'm going to have to give Ryan the point here just for picking a main point. I think Jalen Green showed he can handle the rock. It was unfortunate we didn't get to see him the entire time, but definitely an excellent showing from the young kid. Now we're going to move on to my fiance's least favorite 2 words of all time, fantasy football. With most drafts swiftly approaching, you can't have that draft too early just because of injuries or holdouts like Mike Thomas. You got to be careful with that. But people need every edge they can get, and we're here to help today on Sport and Order. Along the lines of James Robinson for the Jags or Justin Herbert from last year with the Chargers, who's your best fantasy sleeper of 2021? Ryan, we can start with you.
I got Michael Carter, running back for the Jets. He's a 5'8", 200-pound horse out of North Carolina. He was third-team All-American in 2020 and was as one of the steals of the draft in the 4th round for the Jets. Rookie Zach Wilson is going to be the focus for the Jets. They're going to be trying to protect him and ease him in to, becoming an NFL quarterback. They look like they're going to start him from day one. And quite frankly, that means they're going to have to protect him. And the way they're going to protect him is with a running game. And Carter is going to get plenty of chances. Multifaceted, can catch the ball out of the backfield, had 1,500 total yards last year. Expect him to pass my fellow Hoosier Tevin Coleman on the depth chart really quickly as they just invest in the future with that backfield.
Patrick, who's your diamond in the rough?
Yeah, I like Michael Carter as well. And, I went with the quantity over quality in my previous argument, but I got a number of guys: Rex Burkhead, Javonte Williams, Gus Edwards, Michael Carter, who we just mentioned, Ramondre Stevenson with the Patriots. I think all those guys are going to be late round steals at the running back position. But as far as one singular guy, I really love Deebo Samuel, wide receiver, kind of do-it-all guy for the 49ers. I think Jimmy Garoppolo is going to be the starter to begin the season. Whether or not he's the quarterback at the end of the season remains to be seen. But Deebo Samuel, as long as this guy stays healthy, it's going to be a 1,000-plus yard receiver. He can also chip in with maybe 200, 300-plus yards as a rusher. This guy's going to be a sensational star for the 49ers. You're going to be able to get him late in your fantasy drafts. Deebo Samuel is my guy.
I like that pick. I think that every year it seems like a San Francisco 49er wide receiver comes out of nowhere. But I'm going to have to give the point again to Ryan. I think it usually is a rookie running back that comes out of nowhere, a late round pick. And whether it's because of injuries or just to, like you said, protect a young QB, they end up getting a lot of carries. I think of Alfred Morris and names like James Robinson from last year. It usually ends up being a rookie running back. So I'll have to give that point to Ryan. Moving on, several young QBs made their preseason debut this past weekend, names like Trevor Lawrence, Justin Field, etc. But today I want to focus on Mac Jones and Jordan Love. Both will eventually attempt to replace a bona fide legend in Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers, and will be backed by historically good teams with smart team-building approaches. That being said, which one has the brighter future? Patrick, we can start with you.
For me, it's Mac Jones. A much better college player than Jordan Love was at Utah State. Mac Jones led, maybe the best college football team we've ever seen in a singular season last year, undefeated Alabama. As long as Josh McDaniels is still there in New England, I really like his long-term potential. Mac Jones is going to be the starter sooner than later in New England. And we talk about this all the time. You don't want to be the guy that replaces the guy. You want to be the guy that replaced the guy that replaced the guy. So Mac Jones, he's going to be replacing Cam Newton. Jordan Love going to be replacing Aaron Rodgers. Don't like his potential there in Green Bay, so it's Mac Jones for me all the way.
Awesome. Ryan, what do you think?
I would love to just argue this and have a knockdown drag out, but I can't disagree. It's Mac Jones. He has the brighter future because he does all the things Jordan Love doesn't. He's accurate, poised, has the intangibles you want at the quarterback position. Jordan Love athletically is the better quarterback. He's athletic, huge arm, does some things, can get out of the pocket and move that Jones can't. But you have to be able to do those other things to be a successful quarterback, and he can't. Plus, as Patrick mentioned, learning from Bill Belichick and Josh McDaniels instead of Matt, Mr. Field Goal LaFleur, I think there's just a huge discrepancy there, and I got to go with Mac Jones as well.
Mr. Field Goal, that's rough. I'm going to have to give this point to Patrick. He mentioned it first. He brought up the right answer first. You don't want to be the guy who replaces the guy, and replacing Cam Newton at this point doesn't seem like too tall of a task as he's been throwing ground balls the last couple of years, which you can't do as a quarterback. So, Patrick, that point goes to you. On to baseball we go. After falling into a 4-game losing streak and losing serious ground in the wild card race, the Padres were saved yesterday by, of course, Fernando Tatis Jr. He returned from a shoulder injury to play right field for the first time, going 4 for 5 with 4 RBIs, hitting 2 more home runs, adding to his NL leading total of 33. Tatis would be the NL MVP easily if he could stay healthy. But is he the best player in all of baseball as to this point? Ryan, I'll let you and I'll let the San Diego native go first.
Well, this comes with an asterisk on it because right now Shohei Ohtani is the most valuable player in baseball because he's a two-way player and he racks up WAR like nobody else. It's hard to compare the two because one guy on days where he's not hitting is pitching, or even days where he is hitting, he's pitching. I think he's more valuable. Tatis is the most exciting player in baseball. He's going to win the NL MVP if he remains healthy the rest of the year. And he's missed 32 games. It's a stunning achievement. Of the one-way players in Major League Baseball, he is by far the most valuable, and he's by far the best. He just does things on the field that other guys don't do. He leads the NL in WAR and OPS. Again, missed 32 games, home runs, RBIs, all the stats. He's up there. He's number one of the non-two-way guys in all of baseball, and he's a great face for baseball and all of that as well. He does it all, and he's only 22.
It's one-way versus two-way. Patrick, up to you.
I think we got to say that in the non-Shohei Ohtani division, I'd still say Shohei is the best player and the most exciting player But I got to disagree with our host, Sean. I don't know if he'd be easily the NL MVP. I think Jacob deGrom would be if he was healthy. But yeah, Tatis, he's probably the best player in the National League with Ronald Acuna Jr. injured this season. And Tatis just showing off his versatility, playing right field like like a seasoned veteran out there. He's probably going to be the face of the National League with Acuna, but really with Vlad Guerrero Jr. Doing what he's doing. Baseball is in such a great place with these young stars. And I know he's been injured all year, but Mike Trout, he's still the best, until otherwise proven. So Tatis, he's the best in the non-Shohei Ohtani division.
I like that Ryan brought up the division between most exciting and most versatile. But I'm going to have to give this point to Patrick because he brought up the fact that Mike Trout still exists. We all forget that.
He does. He hasn't been around in a while. What's up with that guy?
I don't know where he's been. He better get back in the game. But I'm going to give the point to Patrick also because he mentioned the fact that Tatis has been versatile. He jumped in right field for the first time, which I think is a smart move also because I read something on it being a good idea for his shoulder because of the way he dives. So we'll see if that adds up. On to question 5. It's been just about 2 weeks since the MLB trade deadline extravaganza. Chris Bryant to the Giants, Anthony Rizzo to the Yanks, and everyone else to the Dodgers. It seems like we do have a ways to go until the postseason where most of these deals will ultimately be judged. But about 16 days in, which move is proven to be more fruitful in the short term and also which would point to long-term success? Patrick, we can start with you.
I think the best move in the short term has been Anthony Rizzo to the Yankees before, he had to go on the COVID list because he didn't want to get the COVID vaccine. But this guy just injected some life into that lineup. Stanton and Judge have been there, but they really needed an infusion there. He's been outstanding for them. I think they get in the playoffs. It's going to be in large part because of him. Long-term wise, though, I think it's probably going to be Chris Bryant because I think he's most likely going to re-sign with the San Francisco Giants. Rizzo, don't know if he's going to resign there. Baez, don't think he's going to resign with the Mets. So long-term, I'd probably say Chris Bryant with the Giants. Short-term, Rizzo with the Yankees.
All right, 2 answers. I like it. Ryan. This pains me to say it. Short term, it's Max Scherzer going to the Dodgers and lengthening that rotation. Long term, it's Trey Turner to the Dodgers. Actually, it's more of the under the radar thing. Everyone talked about Max Scherzer. Trey Turner has lengthened that lineup. The Dodgers offense was slumping on and off inexplicably before he got there. Now there are no holes in the lineup. And here's the thing: he doesn't have to re-sign for next year. He's already under contract for next year. He's only hitting 265 since the trade, but now there are 0 holes in the lineup. They have to pitch to everybody. His speed is a weapon. He's solid defensively at both short and second, could probably play some outfield if they want him to. And while he's already contributing without having exploded offensively yet, and again, under contract for next year, they don't have to sign him to a big deal like the Giants would with Chris Bryant or, with Anthony Rizzo or any of those guys.
I like the fact that you both mentioned the positive of having these players under contract for more than just the end of this season. And I like the Chris Bryant deal for the Giants. I'm unfortunately going to have to give this point and a tip of my cap to the Dodgers and Ryan Phillips. As a Philly guy, LA is never my favorite team to get better, but you got to admit when they did something great. Scherzer, it just seems unfair at this point. That rotation, adding another young player in the infield with Trey Turner, it just doesn't seem fair. But I'm going to have to give that point to Ryan Phillips. Moving on to question 6, though, onto the golf course. Former NBA Sixth Man of the Year and 2-time NBA champ J.R. Smith is going back to school. The 35-year-old is attempting to enroll at North Carolina A&T to play collegiate golf. His eligibility is still intact since he went straight to the NBA out of high school, even though it seems like they're having some trouble finding his grades from all those years ago. This should be fun, but it begs the question, which athlete, past or present, do you wish you could see play another sport? Ryan, we'll start with you.
First of all, just to say, I love the J.R. Smith story. I think it's awesome. I think it's going to be so much fun to follow. But this one's obvious. It's LeBron James playing football. He was an all-state receiver in high school. He was up for Mr. Football in Ohio, a football hotbed as a sophomore, helped lead St. Vincent St. Mary to the state playoffs as a junior. was being recruited by every football program in the country, including Notre Dame and some others in the region and nationally. His size, speed, agility, and athleticism might have made him the best receiver in NFL history. Could have slid over to tight end as he got older. I think it would have been amazing. Even then, he could have slid to offensive line at 6'9", 260. I mean, he could have played anywhere on a football field. Would have been so much fun to watch. Defensive end, whatever. LeBron James as a football player is one I would have loved to have seen.
Interesting. He likes to talk about the framed contract on his wall from the Cowboys. Patrick, what say you?
Yeah, well, I'm pretty tall, so I'm not going to go for the low-hanging fruit with LeBron playing football. But it's, for me, the answer to this one is the answer. Another two-sport star in high school, Allen Iverson. We know how great he was, Hall of Fame basketball player, but, Virginia Player of the Year in Newport News, one of the best high school areas in the nation. Would have loved to seen him play some dual threat quarterback in college and in the NFL. Obviously would have had to add some weight to that, maybe 190-pound frame, but would have loved to seen him running some RPOs looking like RG3 and, Vince Young and some of these great dual threat quarterbacks that we've seen in this century. Would have loved to seen Allen Iverson in the NFL.
What a wonderful answer.
I knew that was going that way.
If you have not watched his highlight tape from high school football, it's amazing. Big hits, big throws. There was a rumor he picked off 6 passes in a game as a free safety. I will say this to Ryan. Do you really think LeBron James, who flops after every tiny little hit, is going to be able to survive in a football game?
Yes.
Do you really think?
Yes. Because he's going to be 30 pounds bigger than anybody would try and tackle him. Maybe 40 pounds bigger. Here's another good answer for that. I think it's funny is Zion Williamson at like defensive end or something like that.
Yeah, that was a lot of great candidates. We could have each done the top 5.
Could have been all 7 questions, honestly.
Yeah, kudos to Sean for presenting us with just a phenomenal question. One of the best questions in the history of Sport and Order.
Well, thank you very much. Also, Randy Moss's basketball highlight tape, worth checking out.
Awesome.
High school teammate of Jason Williams in West Virginia. I have to give that point to Patrick. I just can't accept LeBron James playing a tough man sport. Just can't do it. Finally, this final question that will separate the men from the boys. We have a question that may tear my heart in two. We have Ben Simmons. After self-destructing in this year's Eastern Conference semifinals, Ben Simmons has apparently cut off all communication with his coach, Doc Rivers, and Joel Embiid, and all signs point to a trade having to be made before training camp, although it doesn't look like there are many takers up to this point. Give me the most entertaining trade for Simmons. Not for me or for Ben, but for the fans of the NBA. Patrick, we can start with you.
Yeah, for entertainment purposes, for getting those clicks off, how about sending Ben Simmons to the Golden State Warriors, sending Draymond Green back to Philly? Man, guys like Skip Bayless, Chris Broussard, Stephen A. Smith, Max Kellerman, they would have so much programming, so much. I mean, we couldn't write enough blogs to fill the blogosphere with the momentum and the ammunition that would come out of that. 2 great defensive stars that can't shoot worth a lick, and just agitators. I'd love to see Draymond Green and Joel Embiid coexist and see what Ben Simmons could do working alongside the Splash Brothers. It would just be so much fun and just pure NBA chaos.
Ben does say he wants to go to California, so that would certainly make him happy. Ryan, what do you think?
Ben wants to go to California. The Sixers aren't really happy with him right now. Send him to California's version of Siberia, the Sacramento Kings, baby. Sacramento sent him for Buddy Hield, some salary ballast and picks. It actually works out for the Sixers. Doc Rivers loves to space the floor, create driving range, open some spots for Joel Embiid in the middle. Buddy Hield is a knockdown catch and shoot guy along with Seth Curry. Totally opens up the floor, makes them really fun, run and gun style a bit. And hey, Ben, you want to go to one of those glamorous California teams? Welcome to Sacramento, buddy. That's my call.
I think as a revenge story, as a Philadelphia fan, that would definitely be most entertaining for Philly. And it's probably where I want him to go for that exact reason. But I'm going to have to give the final point to Patrick Schmidt. I think for the entertainment factor, and as much as I'm a little salty as a Philly fan, Golden State's where Ben would reach his ceiling in terms of potential, passing to 2 great shooters, running on the break, and basically being Draymond Green 2.0. And then also, I think the underrated part of this trade that you mentioned is Draymond Green and Joel Embiid off the
That would
court
never
or on
work.
Twitter. On the court, I don't know if it'll work spacing wise, but it would be hilarious. So I would have to give this point and this win to Patrick Schmidt. Well done, gentlemen. Patrick, is there anything you'd like to say?
You know, I'm just honored to share the screen with you guys. It was a fun show. Love the the question, like I said, the flattery, I think, got me everywhere. Thinking about pro athletes playing a different sport. That might be some great slideshow material here for the blogs, but great to be with you guys.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys for joining us and talking some sport and order. Thank everyone out there for watching, and we will see you next time, possibly with Mark Carmen coming back. I know he was on the title card. But for now, this is my show, and I'll say goodbye.